You're listening to Forge Theater Labs.
Okay, so Maya, I got a great movie riddle for you. You ready?
Ooh, let's go.
Okay, cue the music. And
I'm ready.
what do Animal House, Friday the 13th, JFK, X-Men First Class, Footloose, Hollow Man, and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles have in common?
Well, JFK and Apollo 13 are about history.
Yeah, but Animal House is not about history. At least I hope not. And Friday the 13th, Footloose, Planes, Trains, and X-Men? Really?
Someone dies in each one?
Strike two. Footloose, Animal House, Apollo 13? Not so much.
Wait. I know, they all have Kevin Bacon.
Well,
I'm right, aren't I? Say yes, Maya wins.
no, he's not in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
See, that's where you're wrong. He's the taxi driver that's uncredited.
Wow, how did I not realize?
I know, you're a huge bacon lover and you had no
That
idea.
just sounds wrong.
Doesn't make it untrue.
Stop crushing on Kevin Bacon.
I'm not alone.
I'll give you that one. And by that, I mean giving credit where credit is due. Kevin Bacon is a god amongst men. But that's not...
That's not what you were thinking about, was it?
Well, no. Want to give it one more try?
Fine. Nah, screw it, I give up. What do they all have in common? Besides Kevin Bacon, I was totally right.
Drum roll, please. They all have... a plot.
Well, duh.
Why duh?
I mean, that's it?
What do you mean, that's it?
Well, isn't it kind of obvious?
What do you mean?
Isn't that kind of a given, Josh? Doesn't every movie, play, and novel need a plot? Some sort of beginning, middle, and end? Isn't that just an unavoidable premise to storytelling?
Sure. But the real question is, why?
Huh.
We assume every movie or play does. But where's the evidence that we need one? Where does that idea come from? How has it become so prevalent in Western culture? And most importantly, why are we so beholden to that idea? Is this convention of plot just inescapable?
Yeah, I'm right. Just like I was about Kevin Bacon.
Well, we shall see. Today we're going to talk about...
Wait. We should probably introduce ourselves.
Right, that thing.
I'm Maya Williams,
I'm Joshua Shue, and...
You're listening to Forge Theater Labs.
a podcast devoted to exploring theater history.
Where does that idea come from?
Concepts in storytelling.
Is anything that original?
Wait. Isn't that just an assumption?
And the creation of theater from behind the scenes.
How do they even do that?
This is Forge Theater Labs. History, innovation, perspective. You're listening to Forge Theater Labs. Forge Theater Labs is devoted to innovations in theatrical direction, choreography, design, dramaturgy, and beyond. Through re-examining established theatrical conventions and assumptions, we craft theatrical experiences that resonate deeply with audiences today and inspire the future of the craft.
Hey there, Josh Shue here. If you've been enjoying our episodes and the stories we bring to life, there are a couple of easy ways that you can help us keep the fire burning. First, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And if you want to take your support to the next level, you can buy us a coffee or even join our Patreon, helping us create more bold, design-forward, and innovative theater experiences. You'll find all the links on our website at forgetheaterlabs.com. Your support, whether it's a subscription, a donation, or just sharing the show with friends, makes a huge difference. Thanks for helping us forge ahead.
So, okay, Josh. If you're going to argue against the necessity of a plot, I'm going to need some context. Where does our understanding of plot come from, anyway?
Take a wild guess. How old do you think our understanding of plot is?
Considering how prevalent it is, 17th to 18th century?
Why is that?
The novel rose to fame in the 18th century, and it seems that drama would either predate it or follow suit, as often is the case.
Well, you're mildly right and simultaneously wrong at the same time.
How's that?
So our Western understanding of plot predates your guess by, about 1700 and 300 some odd years, give or take.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You mean we haven't progressed after all this time?
Well, no.
How is that even possible?
So to understand where we are today, we will have to don our togas and do some backtracking.
Kind of like Kevin Bacon and Animal House. Are we going Greek?
Completely. The earliest evidence we have regarding the Western construction of drama is around 8th century BCE, ancient Greece.
Why does everything always come back to the Greeks? And who, pray tell, is the fellow responsible?
Well, a little fellow by the name of Aristotle.
Why, hello, I am Aristotle, and I am not so little.
Wait, Aristotle? You mean the guy who was Alexander the Great's tutor?
Yep, that's me.
The same guy who wrote Ethics and Politics? The guy who wrote the foundation of our modern democracy and all our modern philosophy?
Well, really, I never knew. That really is a compliment. If you know anyone who's hiring a tutor.
I find it hard to believe that he wrote about drama.
Well, why?
Yeah, Maya, why?
Aristotle portrays himself as a practical man, interested in practical wisdom instead of the arts. He has no sense of humor in his work.
Hey, I believed in pure empirical observation. But I am funny. Stop me if you've heard this one before. What do you do with fertilized chicken eggs to get them to laugh? Crack them open. Huh? That one gets me every time.
On top of it, he often fundamentally rejects holding gods or myths in high esteem. Didn't he eventually flee Athens for fear of persecution? How can that guy write about drama?
I was trying not to become Socrates 2.0.
Wasn't he the student of Plato who pretty much called all forms of performance or art morally corrupting?
Plato was a smart guy, but that guy was a D-bag.
He's the foundation of all things related to drama?
Yup.
Why is that hard for everyone to believe? What am I, invisible? Is anybody listening to me?
Yup, he's like Kevin Bacon in Hollow Man. Invisible but eerily omnipresent in all things art, science, and politics. And the important thing here is that here's the first real definitive moment where we begin to see Aristotle depart from his mentor and write something revolutionary for his time, the Poetics.
Poetics, a treatise on dramatic theory and literary theory.
Wait. I thought you said it was about drama.
Well, you have to remember that all drama was considered a part of poetry up to that point. Most drama was written in verse, meter, or song, much like the epic poems of his day.
So technically, he believed the medium was equivalent for both forms.
Yes, and the medium we speak of is that of language.
And I assume he goes on to distinguish poetry and drama?
Totally, and he goes one step further. He elevates drama and challenges Plato's assertions about the corrupting nature of drama. He acknowledges, as Plato did it previously, that the object of storytelling is on some level a type of
mimesis.
Or imitation.
Imitation of what? Of life?
Of life?
Right, but unlike Plato, Aristotle challenges the assertion that out of the modes of storytelling, drama is weaker than that of lyric poetry or epic poetry.
In fact, it is the most elegant and most noble form.
Why?
Well, Greeks were obsessed with hierarchical and binary thinking.
Oh, so they needed something better than the other?
Yeah, they were all a little Reverend Ship Diller.
You had to shoehorn in a Kevin Bacon reference again, didn't you?
While poetry tells stories that imitate the world, drama demonstrates the world through multiple views.
I see where he's going with this. Drama is an embodied art form. It represents action through human performance.
And that is a true mirror of life as possible. And that's why the spectator holds them in such high esteem.
Aristotle then speaks about the history of the form and different types of drama and what would be the groundbreaking idea for generations to come. He defines how we can understand drama. He begins by explaining the 6 constituent parts that are essential to any drama.
1. Mythos.
That would be plot, story.
2. Ethos.
That's character.
3. Dianoia.
Or theme, the point the author is trying to express through the plot or characters.
4. Lexis.
The language utilized.
5. Melos.
Music.
6. Opsis.
And lastly, spectacle.
Right. The visuals. And it's safe to assume that above all else, he thought that.
Mythos is the origin and the psyche of all drama.
Plot was, above all else, the essential element.
And the others?
He places characters next, followed by theme.
Then logically, what about diction and music? What about spectacle?
Well,
It's an attractive quality, but it's rather unnecessary.
Okay, a story doesn't always need special effects or crazy visuals to be told. So how does he then define plot?
well, to understand that, we first have to go back and define drama.
Wait, didn't he already do that?
I've already said this. A drama is an imitation of an action.
Right, but then he adds on a few extra elements.
Oh, yeah. A drama is an imitation of action that is whole and complete, possessing a certain and determinate scope, such that all its elements adhere to a logical verisimilitude.
That's a few.
Yeah.
Wait, what does he mean by whole?
If you let me finish,
Sorry, Aristotle.
a whole is that which has a beginning,
Which he defines as an inciting action,
Oh, you mean the thing that makes everything else happen?
then comes a middle,
which may involve a complication or an unexpected reversal of fortune due to the environment.
peripetia,
Oh, plot twist.
or due to the character's hamartia.
A good old-fashioned mistake.
That's what Shakespeare and his pals called a fatal flaw.
And finally, an end whereby the character comes to an ultimate anagnorisis.
The tragic hero's recognition that they had destroyed themselves and often everything that they loved, but also that their mistakes had brought these terrible events into being.
Exactly.
That's a mouthful.
Wait, there is one final thing.
Such that the anagnorisis produces an effect of pity or fear.
Or catharsis.
Totally. If I were to watch or read a drama, you'd want me to sympathize with the characters.
Wait, I'm not done yet. It all still has to make sense within the context described.
Verisimilitude. No, crap, I lost it. So what's plot again?
So if a drama imitates the action, a plot is...
The series of events within that imitation that represents the imitation of an action that consists of an inciting action that introduces us to the situation and lead character who makes a mistake, bringing about a reversal of fortune or change that further complicates the issue, and a final recognition that resolves the events in such a fulfilling way that it effects both emotions in the audience without making them go, WTF? Got it?
Since when did Aristotle use slang and acronyms?
IDK. Hashtag I even actually Aristotle. Duh.
We may have taken some creative liberties on that one.
It's cool.
Nonetheless, that definition all makes sense. Nothing I've heard seems out of place, though.
What do you mean?
Well, let's take the movie Mystic River, for instance.
Kevin Bacon's character.
Totally.
Great mystery movie, but how do you figure?
At the beginning of the movie, we're given a little context for three young friends, and it establishes the film's scope in the bad part of Boston. And we learn that there are bad cops who do bad things to little boys, and that we live in a world without justice.
The beginning.
Jump to 25 years later when the movie kicks off, when one of the characters' kids is killed, and hence the mystery begins.
The inciting incident.
Enter Kevin Bacon. A man haunted by his past, unable to trust those around him, drives his wife, children, friends, and family away.
The tragic flaw.
But then we get several plot twists.
Peripetia.
We're led to believe that it's Kevin Bacon's friend, the one who's abused, who killed their other friend's daughter. Oh no! Or could it be the daughter's troubled boyfriend? Or boyfriend's disapproving dad? But then, after several more plot twists, Kevin Bacon discovers the true killer is... Sam, cue the spoiler alert, please.
What A said?
The actual killer is... Did you really just bleep that out?
You said.
I already warned them you didn't need to.
Oh, sorry. Wrong button.
Anyways, this investigation makes him realize
Anagnorisis.
how much it has destroyed his relationship with his childhood friendship and family, and how the past has shaped the decisions as much as some unfortunate events
Reversal of fortunes and complications.
his friends and he have made and or experienced. Through this experience, we as an audience learn that sometimes a world without justice has morally reprehensible and terrifying consequences for the individual, even if you are the noblest of men. As
Kevin Bacon's character.
right, in those final moments, we finally see that beginning, middle, and end all tied together.
Verisimilitude.
You know, I can't help feeling choked up at the movie's end. because Kevin's character decides to reunite with his family.
Catharsis.
So your point is?
Aristotle was right. His definition of drama still grips us today as much as Kevin Bacon.
Who is this dreaming pig you speak of? We must free this bacon.
He's so dreamy. See, even Aristotle agrees with me. Perfect movie, perfect actor. Aristotle, Josh owes me lunch. We'll take you too.
I'm vegan.
Yeah, about that.
About Kevin Bacon or about lunch?
Neither. About Aristotle.
How I'm vegan?
Not quite.
Oh no, what?
Oh, no, what?
Well, remember how I said you were mildly right about the 17th and 18th centuries before?
Uh-huh.
Even though the Poetics were written in the 3rd century BC, the thing is, we didn't see it in its modern incarnation until the medieval era. And it didn't come into prominence until the 15th century during the Renaissance.
Why?
It got lost, then rediscovered.
But how?
No one's sure. But scholars tend to agree on one thing. When we rediscovered the Poetics,
Why do I feel I know where this is going?
something got lost.
In the translation. Crap.
And as a result, nobody seems to agree about what they mean.
Oh, come on, give me a break.
We'll be right back with more on the Poetics.
And me, Aristotle. And Kevin Bacon.
You're listening to Forge Theater Labs. This episode was brought to you by Forge Theater Labs and in part by the Circular Series.
Hey there, Josh Shu again. Want to get your brand in front of a passionate, creative, and engaged audience? Forge Theater Labs is looking for partners to sponsor this podcast and join us in bringing bold, innovative theater to life. If you'd like to place an ad right here, reach out to us at marketing@forgetheaterlabs.com. It's a simple, powerful way to support the arts while sharing your message with listeners who care about creativity and community. Again, that's marketing@forgetheaterlabs.com. Let's build something extraordinary together.
So, welcome back to Forge Theater Labs. I'm Joshua Shu.
And I'm Maya Williams.
So, right, where were we?
We were talking about the concept of plot.
And we were talking about me, Aristotle.
And, don't forget, Josh, Kevin Bacon.
That's right. And now, Aristotle has been translated or mistranslated over the centuries.
So how exactly did we misinterpret or poorly translate Aristotle?
Well, after the fall of Alexander the Great and with the rise of the Roman Empire, most of those documents were lost to the Western world. However, some remained intact and were later translated from Greek into Syriac by early Arabic scholars, and we see a significant amount of analysis of the Poetics from this era. The most notable one was by Avros, with which no doubt Aristotle would not have survived.
Well, why are those two notable?
Well, the Arabic versions begin to depart widely from the vocabulary of Aristotle. More often, they're using Aristotle to justify adding morality to their poetic tradition.
I never said that. I'm clearly against that and everything else I write.
So while Aristotle makes statements about superior drama,
He never actually discusses the idea of poetry as an instrument to make society morally superior.
Sounds like something Plato would try to do. And that guy is a D-bag. Have I ever told you about the time he...
Yeah, we know Aristotle, we know.
Plato, scholar, teacher, douchebag. So if it reached what we know today as the Middle East, how did it return to Europe?
That's not so clear. What we do get from other translations in the Middle Ages is that they're basing their understanding on the Arabic versions. And these medieval scholars continue to misinterpret them through the 11th century.
So then we get the better version?
Well, we get what becomes the basis for the modern text.
Oh, come on. It's like a terrible game of telephone, and I don't even know what a phone is.
Exactly. Greek texts were translated into Syriac and then into this French version that acknowledges the errors of the previous translators. And even then, no one cared that much about it.
Oh, that stings just a little.
So how does it come into public consciousness?
Well, it passes through the hands of some Italian scholars, and it exists in university circles for a while, but finally the Poetics makes its mark as the how-to-make drama document in the 16th century with the rise and peak of the Italian humanists in Italian.
Oh, thank the gods for those Italianos.
Oh, those guys.
Right. Remember, the Italian humanists were a little zealous about their Aristotelian notions, Greek texts, and art.
What's not to like?
To be fair, they were countering years of university teaching, often rooted in arbitrary texts with no unifying theme.
Of course, but the humanists fundamentally rejected anything that didn't fall within classical ideas of Greece, and sometimes zealously so.
And it seemed like Aristotle would be the perfect fit.
But
Yet
again, it was utilized to fit the prevailing ideology of the time, Christian codes and conduct. This idea of moral drama continues to persist in every interpretation of the Poetics.
So when do we get the closest version of what we have today?
As humanism developed, the Italian humanists slowly began to reject the notion of the church and an actual deity or deities, and thought of them only as metaphors, useful only within the context of storytelling.
The gods are dead, but they make for great stories.
So the secular humanists avoided organized religion as much as Aristotle did. You're saying this version is the closest we've had?
Close is incredibly relative.
Did the humanists get the translation right or not?
Well, not quite. Because a translation of a translation of a translation tends to be
a misinterpretation.
Who cares? They remembered who I was. Tense is confusing. I'm dead, right?
And as much as these humanists tried to get close to the source text, they still had 1,000 years of bad translations to synthesize and ingrained in their consciousness.
Surely modern scholars must have realized this.
Sure, but the secular humanist version tends to be the gold standard used today for English texts. However, even among modern scholars and practitioners, there's still a wide variety of disagreement among translators and scholars.
I'm going to need some examples.
Let the games begin. Aristotle 0, Josh 0.
Let's review that word, imitation or
Mimesis.
What's wrong with it?
well, what does it mean to you?
A thing intended to copy something else.
Right, so in the context of Aristotle...
Drama would be an imitation of life.
Right again, but what does it mean to copy life?
Well, ideally, and we've heard so many actors say this before, to get as close to representing reality as possible.
But what would that entail, in your opinion?
Clearly, he's not talking about nature, he's talking about people. Historical dramas like JFK or Apollo 13, or biopics, would those be ideal?
One would think. However, Aristotle explicitly tells us...
Not. Historical dramas are just so boring.
Wait, what?
Why would you write about something everyone already knows about? It becomes a boring rehash of something where the outcome is predetermined, or even worse, a poor imitation at best, because one can't help but compare it to the actual event. And you're relying on outside knowledge that the viewer may or may not have. At worst, you tell a lie.
Wow, he's passionate about that point.
Right. Aristotle argues against historical dramas, yet they persist.
So he would hate those Kevin Bacon movies.
I don't think I want any more of this bacon.
But they're such good movies! Wait, so then what is imitation to Aristotle?
The best imitation takes a familiar character and juxtaposes them in unfamiliar, unexpected, and wildly fantastic situations.
Aristotle seems to argue that drama shouldn't be what has happened, but what could happen.
You're saying he'd dig a fantasy or sci movie more than Apollo 13?
As long as it has traces of the familiar.
So movies that tell an alternate history, like X-Men First Class?
Totally. He'd love the fact that the movie takes place with familiar characters, heroes or villains, from popular culture.
But completely inverts our expectations of how they become those heroes without compromising the essence of the moral or amoral character. Wait, does that mean he'd also hate movie adaptations of books?
Well, I say that any attempt to stage or dramatize the Iliad or Odyssey is just a waste of time.
As long as the adaptation is faithful to the source text, then he'd hate it.
There go half of my favorite movies.
And half of my favorite plays. Yet we say that Aristotle is still the basis for all drama. Is imitation the correct phrasing? Wouldn't it be more proper to say, I don't know, representation?
Or pastiche, or inferred representation.
See, I'm winning you over.
Well, that's only one issue. I'm still not convinced.
Aristotle 1, Josh still 0. Game, set, and...
Hold up, Sam. It's not over yet. let's consider another issue with our definition of plot.
The series of events within that imitation that represent the imitation of an action that consists of an inciting action that introduces us to the situation and lead character with a tragic flaw, a reversal of fortune or change that further complicates the issue, and a final recognition that resolves the events in such a fulfilling way that it affects both emotions in the audience without making them go, WTF?
That definition, the beginning, middle, and end?
Just that one. So Aristotle suggests that a plot necessitates a beginning, middle, end.
The best ones do.
Makes sense that we need to see everything unfold.
Well, that's the thing. Aristotle doesn't say that we need to see or read it for that matter. We just need to know that it's there.
And what's the problem with that?
Wait, how can that be?
Well, the formulation for the Poetics was fundamentally based on Aeschylus's Oedipus Rex.
The one where a man murders his father, becomes king by beating the Sphinx, and inadvertently marries his mother, or rather, his former mother finds out that his wife dies by suicide, gouges his eyes out, and he was banished from his kingdom for eternity?
Yeah, that one. You have that surprisingly down pat.
You're telling me that doesn't have a beginning, middle, or end?
Remember that the play doesn't begin with the murder, his coronation, the Sphinx, or the marriage. We start by learning that the gods have punished Oedipus for some unknown reason, and soon after he finds out that it was his actions before the play even began, that those actions ultimately led to the events of the play.
So we jump in at the middle of the plot, like Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Well, another Kevin Bacon movie is down for the count.
Oedipus Rex is still a good play.
And Friday the 13th is still a good movie.
I just realized something.
What's that?
Something Kevin Bacon, Freud, and Oedipus Rex have in common. The basis for all bad Yo Mama jokes.
Yeah, Freud and Jason would have some issues with me.
And I'm kind of on their side. The fundamental construction that Aristotle argues for, that we subscribe to almost without thinking, is based on something that violates that notion entirely. Yet, we accept it in our mode of creating drama?
I mean, I did say it didn't have to have it. It benefits the writer to have a beginning, middle, or end.
So Aristotle would say that we could just have a beginning as long as we could infer the rest?
Or the resolution as long as we could infer the rest.
That sounds terrible.
Exactly. He never explains why we should. He just says that we should because it's compelling. Moreover, he never suggests that the beginning, middle, or end must come in that specific order.
But don't most movies do that?
Television sitcoms, movies, plays, podcasts.
They all tend to have that 3-act structure.
Now you follow. Even those who try to break out of that model claim that their vision violates Aristotle's principles, yet...
They're still basing that judgment on misinterpretation.
And should we? Are those movies any better with or without Aristotle?
You're starting to win me over.
No! Fine. Josh gets a point.
Speaking of affections, remember that last essential part to plot?
Oh, no.
All right, the one where a plot needs to affect pity or fear.
Catharsis.
The question that's always bugged me is, well, for whom?
The audience?
Well, Aristotle clearly states that,
I'm not an actor, designer, or stage director.
and so therefore,
Opsis.
spectacle isn't his domain.
But those are visual effects, right? How does that have to do with the audience?
Not quite. For Aristotle, spectacle meant...
Performance or stage effects.
Performance?
Who needs actors? Remember, there are two types of actors, those who say they want to become famous and those who are liars.
Wait, how can you have a movie or a play without a performance?
And yet...
We treat it as the standard for performance.
Exactly.
So catharsis is for the writer, the reader?
Well, that's debatable because, well, we don't know. He never actually says who it's for.
Wait, let me check. Oh, crap. Yeah, I forgot that part.
But let's consider that word effect. It's not about convincing someone or manipulating someone. On some level, it's comparable to the word demonstrate or to represent.
Wait, so it's not for the reader or audience, but for the character?
Yeah, again, I forgot that part. Back off me, I'm old.
The more I read it, Aristotle seems to suggest that the character must demonstrate or represent pity or fear through his actions and his words. Which begs the question, why is plot so important? Why not character?
I'll concede that the catharsis needs to happen on the part of the character. Wait, no, it doesn't. I mean, does every character the writer writes have to represent pity or fear? I could see how that applies to sad stories or tragedies, but what about comedies?
So right, when we're talking about drama, Aristotle means
Tragedy.
Wait, what? So comedy doesn't apply?
The purpose of drama should be to demonstrate that which is noble and worthy of praise. That is a tragedy. Not to blame, which is the province of the uncivilized and the commoner. I will talk about the art, if there is such a thing, of comedy in the later portion of the Poetics, where I will enumerate and elaborate.
Brushing past the point that that's elitist, am I to understand that comedy has different elements? How so?
Give me a minute, I'll get to it.
Okay. Now would be good.
I promise. Just gotta go pee. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Josh, does he ever get to it?
no.
So does everything we've talked about only apply to tragedy?
Yeah.
But even comedies, sitcoms, rom-coms, farces, and movies, writers still follow the same essential elements.
Absolutely.
So planes, trains, and automobiles?
Nope.
Animal House?
Well, that one's out as well.
So you're arguing that all those movies we mentioned don't have a plot or don't need one?
Well, we've come to treat Aristotle as the only way of creating poetry, drama, and our comedy. And we've done so for so long now without questioning that it's become an essential part of the writer's thinking. We adhere to rules that never existed. We try to break these fake rules but still misconstrue Aristotle. However, Aristotle wasn't writing to impart wisdom to writers, performers, or directors.
Well then, who?
I just wanted to understand it. I tried to find a way to discuss it with my students, for myself and my understanding.
So in essence, the Poetics was the foundation of literary criticism. Was it for students, teachers, and critics?
We don't know. The Poetics is incomplete. We can only speculate what would have been there had Aristotle finished the book or seen the original. Some scholars even argue that the Poetics is nothing more than a series of lecture notes or represent the foundation of a more significant book that was lost to time.
So why should we treat it as a Bible for creating movies, television, or theater? Damn, I think you win.
Aristotle 1, Josh 2. Game, set, match. We'll be right back.
At Forge Theater Labs, we want this podcast to be as collaborative as it was when we created it. That's where you come in. Have an idea for a future episode, a guest you'd love to hear from, or just thoughts on how we can make the show even better? Feel free to email us at info@forgetheaterlabs.com. Your voice shapes the stories we tell, so don't be shy. Let us know what you think.
You're listening to Forge Theater Labs.
So, Josh, does this mean we should just abandon Aristotle?
In some ways, yeah. I'm certainly not arguing that we should pretend he never existed.
I'm not a tyrant, you know.
But there's room for fresh air when constructing the structure of a script, a performance, or a movie. Even Aristotle allows for some flexibility in the Poetics. Plot shouldn't be our primary concern. If anything, we should treat plot as malleable, escapable.
Yeah, even I'm starting to see your point of view.
And that's where I disagree.
I knew it! I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
How so?
I'll acknowledge that perhaps the primacy of plot may be an outdated idea.
Wait a minute.
I'll even say that in some circumstances, spectacle and performance should and can take precedence over plot.
Well, I'll be...
But
There's a but? Is it made of bacon?
regardless of whether we try to delete a plot, remove it from a story, it will always be there.
How so?
Because entertainment, art, drama, poetry, whatever you want to call it, still and always will depend upon the audience or the reader.
And?
And that audience or reader will always find a way to construct one, intentionally devised or not. They will create a beginning, middle, or end. The beginning is when they step into the movie theater, and the end is when they walk away. And if anything, they'll find a way to build a plot. They'll define the language and the character if none were there. They'll determine the parameters of the music, sound, and performance. Essentially, they'll recreate the writer's or performer's expectations and intentions with or without a predetermined plot.
I'll need an example.
I'll admit, I'm a little lost.
So what do you remember most about Footloose? What is the most essential part for you?
Bacon?
The music. Kevin Bacon dancing, and all those excellent lines.
I will use my legs to throw off my Sunday sandals.
That's not the line, but close enough.
Exactly. What are you doing every time you hear the music or start dancing to it?
I'm telling the story over again in my mind.
Why?
Because it creates sentimental value for me. It brings joy to my life, and it makes me want to rebel.
And that's the thing. Regardless of whatever element is most memorable or influential, we use that to construct a story and a plot because, and this is a big because we tell stories to understand and grasp life's hidden themes. So stories are, in essence, not an imitation of the actions of life, but an imitation of themes explored through our life through a series of actions. And if our history, culture, and a way of life are to survive, we need these stories to help us give our lives meaning and contemplation.
Wouldn't that make the theme inescapable?
Not quite. For themes to exist, we need plots to organize them.
Exactly. I make that same comparison in the Poetics.
So you're saying no matter what we stress as creators or critics, the audience will always create or hope for a plot?
Well, we're all 6 degrees away from Kevin Bacon.
So it is inescapable.
Plot is, I don't know about Aristotle.
Can I go now? Let's call it a draw.
Fair enough, Aristotle. It's a draw. I'm Joshua Shue,
I'm Maya Williams.
and we'll catch you next time on
Forge Theater Labs. History, innovation, perspective. This episode was written and produced by Joshua M. Shue and co-produced by Maya Williams. Story editing and dramaturgy by Rachel Price Cooper. Audio design and editing by me, Sam Rapaport. Featured performances by Jared Mongeau as Aristotle. Incidental music by Super Order. This episode of Forge Theater Labs was recorded live at Cassidy Point as a part of the Circular Series.